What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central. And you know what? I haven't brought Petty Roosevelt out in a while, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Like, just check this out with me. Let's get into it.
Ball. Yeah, right now. Now it's about execution now. Get a good shot.
Zach catch and shoot. Oh! Go for the Bulls. Up by 6.
See, look, all this triple team.
Zach, come on.
Oh, stop it.
No.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop.
Okay, so I do that, yes, to be petty a little bit, but also I do that to highlight, and this is one of the first things that I want to talk about in this game, is that as basketball fans, we tend to come up with like our team would be undefeated, our team would be 3-0 if this and that, but then ignore that when it comes to the other team as well. So when the Clippers fans that came into the comments, like, shout out, because most of them, they weren't crazy, they were just supporting their team, which you guys should. Like I said, I do that to just be silly more than just straight up petty, but the thing with it for me is that, you know, the Clippers fans who said, well, the Clippers could have been undefeated and their version of Golden State, there's no way that the Bulls, all that stuff. I think people forget that the Bulls have been, other than one game, of course, the game against the Golden State Warriors, the Bulls have been in every game that they've played this year. They could have won every game other than that down the stretch, and looked like they were in some of the games as well. So when people come into the comments and say things like, oh, well, the Clips could have been this, or you're underestimating the Clips. I specifically did say that I do feel the Bulls are a better team. Like, flat out. I feel the Bulls are a better team than the Clippers. Now, this game, regardless of what the score was at the end, was closer than it looked. It always seemed like the Clippers were going to start marching back. They kept it close. We had a big lead basically the whole game for the most part. And we won every quarter. We won the first and the last quarters. They actually won the second and third quarters, but this was a good game. This is what you want to see amongst competition. And the reason why I say I believe that the Bulls are a much better team than the Los Angeles Clippers was just because I think we have, and again, I know the Clippers fans, well, Kawhi did this. I'm talking about with the teams that they were projected to have this season. We knew Kawhi wasn't going to play. The Bulls are a better team. The Bulls have the better players. Zach LaVine, to me, is a better player than Paul George is. And he can come in the clutch better. And DeMar DeRozan, well, no. That is a phantom moment. Let me address that. Paul George historically has been a much better clutch player than Zach LaVine, but I think that that's kind of even now. Like, this is a different version of Zach, and Zach has been way more consistent with his efficiency the last 2 years, even though this year hasn't shot the ball the best from three, but that's been turning around. But also just DeMar DeRozan. The fact that Zach has a partner in DeMar DeRozan, and even some of the Bulls fans comments in the last couple of videos, it really seems like, I hate this thing that we go through as Bulls Nation, where it really is, depending on if we won or lost the last game, how like people completely turn some of their opinions on Zach and DeMar, and it comes, right? This is my first year of being a YouTuber and talking about, like, I've been in Bulls forums and everything for years talking about my team, but this is the first time that, like, I've had a platform that talks about the Bulls. So some of it kind of surprises me at times, but it is what it is. But let's get into the nitty gritty in this game. The fact of the matter is that the Bulls and the Clippers match pretty well in almost every stat this game. The Bulls did out rebound them by 1. The Bulls had 19 assists, whereas I think they had 16 assists. The turnover difference was pretty close as well. The Bulls had 15 turnovers. The Clippers had 19 turnovers. This was a pretty even game, and that's why I say it's not always in the box score that just tells the full story of the game. Eric Bledsoe hit every open shot that he had. Like, and there was times where like he would hit some big shots and it seemed like the momentum would swing, but then Zach would come back and hit some shots or do some things there. We matched them at every level. And they, even though Paul George didn't shoot the best percentage, this is how the Bulls are going to win. And this is what I said in the game. I know I said it in the game against Dallas, but it's really been a sticking point in what I've said. It's not about the overall number of points they score. A player like Paul George, who is as important to everything that the Clippers do, is going to score points, but you can make those points that he scores not effective. And this is the thing: if the Bulls ever stop fouling, are getting these players to the line, you would see even more of a point differential with their star players. For example, in this game, Paul George is 7 from 25 from the field, only 2 for 10 from 3, but he was 11 for 11 from free throws, which he's going to hit his free throws, and that's where a lot of his points came from. But outside of that, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and 3 turnovers from Paul George. Paul George did a solid game. Like, yes, he wasn't scoring efficiently, but he did everything else out there. Eric Bledsoe as well, like I said already. Reggie Jackson had some moments as well too, and I underestimate Reggie Jackson all the time, like throughout his whole career. And I'm not saying that he's like a star or anything, but Reggie Jackson is a player that will make you pay. And a lot of NBA players are. Now let's talk about our Bulls. Our Bulls: DeMar DeRozan with 35 points, Zach LaVine with 29 points. At one point they put up a stat like, are DeMar and LaVine going to combine for more than 50 points? That wasn't even in question by like halftime, if they were going to get to that point or not, with the momentum and the way that the game was going. But DeMar with a highly efficient night, 1 for 3. I'm sorry, one for 1 from 3-pointers, 12 for 16 from the field overall, and 10 for 11 from free throws. He had a plus minus of plus 14. The turnovers for the starters were a pretty big story in this game, and this was the first time that we changed the starting lineup. Alex Caruso was in that starting lineup today, and this is why I say, for people who are wondering how Kobe White's going to get minutes, Billy Donovan is not hesitant to put out a bunch of guards out there. He never has been, never will be, and that was a surprise. That if anyone who was going to get the start, it was going to be Alex Caruso. I just think with what he brings from the bench, it's needed, but it worked. It worked defensively for them. That more than anything, it helped them get turnovers. It also helped get Lonzo in the game a little bit more at certain points. Like, Lonzo didn't shoot efficiently again tonight, but it was nice to be able to see Lonzo, be able to take more shots within the flow of the game. That's what they need, especially with Vooch being out. So what they did, and what the Bulls, I think their goal was this game that made it interesting, is that to replace Vooch's shooting and playmaking, they brought in another guard. Rather than look for a big to do it, they brought in another guard, started the 3-guard lineup, which they have been, because Javonte Green is a guard as well. But they tried to counteract that loss of shooting and passing in their starting lineup by bringing Alex Caruso in. And I wouldn't have guessed that that's what they were doing. Because of Alex Caruso's importance to the bench, I really did not expect that. Now, Alex Caruso didn't score a lot still. 2 for 11 from the field, 1 for 5 from three-pointers, so it wasn't an efficient night for him at all, but he was still plus 16, had 7 points, had 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals for Alex Caruso in his first start as a Chicago Bull. And it worked, and this was a team that they could do that on. You can't put out this lineup against every team. Will Billy Donovan still try? I guess that remains to be seen for what the Bulls do tonight, but overall, it worked. Javonte Green had a really good night as well. Like, his efficiency, and that's why Javonte Green is going to be a player on this team regardless of whatever, if he's starting, not starting, because Javonte Green just brings that energy and that consistency, whether it's defensively, whether it's just being active. It's not always going to be scoring. He scored 9 points in this game. Not always going to be even scoring that much, but just the impact that he makes himself felt. And Derrick Jones Jr., I get more and more impressed with him almost every game I see him play. Not that I was ever down on Derrick Jones Jr., but again, not just in the box score, what he does in space and positioning and keeping his head up on defense. Like, go back and look, there are very strong similarities to the way that Lonzo plays off-ball defense that Derrick Jones Jr. does as well. He seems to always be around a loose ball, always be in the right position. And again, yeah, sometimes he falters or whatever, but Derrick Jones Jr. he's a player, and you can't deny that at all. I think in looking at this team, Io with 19 minutes, you knew he was going to play more minutes, especially with Alex Caruso moving into that starting lineup. Didn't have the most effective night either from our bench. I'm just really excited to see how it transforms this bench with having Kobe White there. Something that we did get news of is that Kobe White is now available. The only reason I think that I read, and I don't know how legit this was, but the only reason he didn't play last night was because the Bulls were going into a back and back. So I'm excited to see what Kobe White does. More so like how he plays off the ball. Like I said, I don't expect him to be the scorer that he can be right away. I just don't expect it after being out as long as he has. I've been wrong about other things, but I'm excited to see like how him and having the threat of Kobe White out there, him playing off the ball, him moving, being active, hitting a few shots, how that opens up things. As much as people, and me too included, are questioning like where does Kobe fit with the rise of Ayo Dosunmu. Dosunmu, I always say his name wrong. But I really do think that having a scoring threat like that of Kobe out there may free some things up, especially if the Bulls go back to 3-guard lineup on the bench. Hell, it could be a situation in which we technically have 4 guards out there from our bench. Think about it. Ayo, Caruso, White, and Javonte Green. Think about it. But yeah, so coming into that's just really my thoughts on this game. The Bulls played a solid game. These are the wins that they need. Looked great out there the whole way through. And this was a good game. This is one of those games that you watch and you even if you're I would think if you're fans of either team, you got a good game tonight. Your team, yes. Anytime a team loses, it means they didn't do some things right, but at all, like it wasn't as bad as it looked. Like a 10-point victory in the long haul. Like this game could have easily been much closer than that to end this game. And just a good solid game from our Bulls. And we got the Lakers coming up next. It's going to be a fun game, regardless if LeBron plays or not. It's going to be a fun game to watch. And we know players like to show up anytime they're in the Staples Center, and so I'm gonna to see what DeMar and Zach do on this stage. It's going to be televised on NBA TV. It's just going to be a fun thing to watch from our Chicago Bulls. So let me know down below what are some of the keys that you're looking out for in that Bulls game, in the Lakers game, I should say. How did you feel about this game overall? What do you think about that starting lineup, of that 3-guard starting lineup, of moving Alex Caruso to the starting lineup this game? Let me know all that down below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And like I like to end every video on, go Bulls. I love you guys. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.